The biggest one is probably China, actually. It's not technically illegal for Chinese people to own crypto, and by the way, the people in China love crypto. They all want to own it, like they're because a lot of the rich people there are trying to get their money out of China, but the government doesn't like it. It's kind of like what the China did with the internet, if you're familiar with that, like the Great Firewall of China, where a lot of applications, including Coinbase, but also Facebook and all these things are blocked in China, like Google. So China passed this law where they said banks in China cannot work with crypto companies. So they kind of like debanked them, kind of like what Elizabeth Warren tried to do in the United States. And so they made it very difficult for crypto companies to operate there. But the Chinese government issued their own digital currency for the Chinese yuan. So they made it what's called a central bank digital currency, digital yuan. But of course, it's controlled by the government. And if you get on the wrong side of the government, they can just take all your money and shut down your account. So it's a tool. They're using it as a tool for control because they wanted to run their own blockchain controlled by the government. They're very anti like these decentralized blockchains like Bitcoin that are pro freedom for individuals. So yeah, so China is trying to crack down on it. There's a couple other countries that I'd say the common, like in India, for instance, the Reserve Bank of India has some concerns about crypto because they're worried about, again, capital controls. Like a lot of the wealthy people, they want to plug into the broader economy. They want to like get their money out of the country to go do things in the world. So some countries are trying to clamp down on that, which takes people's freedom away. So they tend to be a little skeptical of crypto, but the people in those countries desperately want crypto. So we're often in this kind of interesting situation where we go in there, we want to work with the government in those countries to do things by the books. But the government's interest sometimes diverges from the people's interest in that country. And so we want to provide the tools to the people for freedom and not get on the wrong side of the government. So it's like we're trying to oftentimes play a delicate game there.
Yeah, I'll bet. I mean, when we're talking about people exchanging, basically using crypto as a currency, how do they, I mean, the big thing for me is the volatility and all of it. You see these massive up and down swings. I mean, when do you think this will or will it? Do you think it will level off?
Yeah, so Bitcoin has gotten less volatile over the last 10 years because there's just more and more people who own it now. And I think as you get like bigger pools of capital in the world, like big institutions and rich people all over the world and just everybody really, like as we get to having, there's maybe 500 million people who've used crypto today. I think as we get to like 5 billion or even a couple billion, it'll get less volatile, but it'll still be going up over time because more and more people will be coming in. But you won't see like these 100% wild swings up and down. But this is why a lot of people are using Bitcoin more like a store of value, and then the as a currency, like a medium of exchange, they're using things like USD coin or things which are less volatile. So again, it's like crypto kind of has, if you're going to update the entire financial system, you kind of need to reinvent everything. You need like a digital gold, you need a digital dollar, you need digital stocks, you need crypto is kind of reinventing all these pieces of the financial system and making them more fast, cheap, global, efficient.
What do you think it will go to?
Like the long-term implications of it? Or, yeah, I mean, well, from a market cap point of view, I think it's got like a long way to go, 10 or 100x. But I think the ultimate outcome of this is that governments stop controlling currency. Really, like we exist in this world today where there's like 190 countries or so. Some of them are pegged to the dollar, but there's maybe like 150 or so currencies. And each country has its own currency. That might sound like an obvious thing, but like imagine if every country had its own internet. Like that would be a terrible situation, right? Like somebody in Germany wants to listen to your podcast and like they have to pay an exchange fee because they're using different internets or something like that. Like that would be super inefficient, right? We should all be running on the same internet globally. Well, we should all be running on the same monetary system globally, but do it in a way that takes the power out of the hands of like a small group of bureaucrats that can manipulate the currency or whatever. It should be like a fair system that no one country or company controls. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing is the power to issue currency is being unbundled from the state. and it's returning that power into the hands of individuals and people who they can choose what they want to use. They don't have to use it just because they live in that country. And that's going to be a more fair and free society. It's going to be money that can't be inflated away. It's going to be every transaction you can do instantly, for a tiny amount instead of like 2 to 3% every time you swipe your credit card. And it's going to work cross-border. Like there's tons of people who are trying to send money to their family in another country, or they're trying to order goods from another country. Like the current financial system is this incredibly unfair tax on every transaction in the economy, and it kind of just slows down all progress. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Would be like, you remember text messaging used to be like 30 cents?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that at that time there was maybe like 1 billion messages a day sent by text message or something. But these applications like WhatsApp came out and Signal, and text messaging got cheaper. And now it's basically like with WhatsApp or Signal, it's free to send a message anywhere in the world, right? Instantly. Mm-hmm. There's now like, I think it's like a couple 100 billion messages sent per day, right? It's no longer 1 billion messages a day. It's like 200 billion messages sent per day because it's free and it's instant and it's global. And that's kind of what's going to start to happen with the economy and with money. There's so much friction today to move money that if we can bring the cost down, like under a cent, 1 cent, under 1 second anywhere in the world, you're just going to see like transactions in the economy will just flourish, and you'll see a lot more of them happening. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is update the financial system with crypto, make it more efficient, more global, more fair, more free.
Couple of questions just off what you were riffing on there. Who set up the USD stablecoin?
So and originally there was a company called Circle in partnership with Coinbase, and we co-created it. And now they're the issuer of it, and we're a distributor of it. But there's a bunch of legal details behind it. But yeah, basically Circle is the issuer of USDC. Okay.
And then, when we're talking about moving to a digital currency globally, mm-hmm. and having a global currency, how do you think that would affect the U.S.? I mean, Elon Musk talks about this, how the U.S. has weaponized the U.S. dollar, which, is a bad thing. But, I mean, slippery slope there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you get the reputation of that, then people are going to want to move. I've brought this up on several shows. We see BRICS. You're familiar with BRICS? What is it? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Several other countries have joined, because the U.S. has weaponized the dollar. I mean, so if we move to a global currency, how does that affect the U.S. from being able to have a certain amount of control around the globe through?
Yeah. So this is a great question, because I think it's a mixed bag. It's complicated, right? So I think if you think about like a digital dollar, I'll start with that, like USDC. To me, that's unequivocally just good for the dollar in the United States. It helps make sure the dollar is the reserve currency in all these countries around the world. It creates enormous demand for U.S. treasuries. There's a bunch of reasons why it's good. If you're talking about Bitcoin, I think it's more complicated, because if the dollar maintains discipline, then it'll continue to be the reserve currency. If the dollar loses discipline, like we talked about earlier, people start printing a ton of it, like the Federal Reserve, or there's these huge budget deficits we keep running at the federal level that require us to print more money just to pay things back, and they sort of devalue the dollar, people will flee the dollar and they'll go to Bitcoin. And in that case, the United States could lose the reserve currency status. Now, if the U.S. is going to lose the reserve currency status, I'd rather people went to Bitcoin than to the Chinese yuan, mm-hmm. right? So that's why I say I think Bitcoin is kind of like a check and balance on the dollar and deficit spending. Like I hope that the U.S. finds a way to maintain that discipline, and the U.S. remains strong. And in that case, crypto will just be on like a very good thing. But if we're going to lose it, I'd rather we have Bitcoin than we have to all live under a Chinese system.